Okay guys, so I'm on a mission to build an actual true micro skiff or micro boat. I see a lot of boats that are kind of in the 12, maybe 14 foot range, and they're called micro boats. And I just don't think that's small enough. I think that's quite a large boat. A lot of the times you need a trailer for something that big. So if you're familiar with the catamarans that I make, definitely check those out. But this is, I guess, going more the traditional route, just going with a kind of monohull design. So I'm just going to walk through where I'm at right now and hopefully kind of make a build series of it, and I'll try to film as much as I can. But right now I'm in the early design stages of it, and so let's take a look at what we have. So looking here, this is the first design I had, and so we're looking at a 10-foot length in the hull and about 53 or so inches in beam. So pretty wide for how short it is, and you know, I want that side-to-side stability. Obviously it's not going to be as stable as any of the cats that I've built, but with the total flat bottom, hopefully it will be relatively stable. But the idea for this is actually pretty micro and small, and it's going to be very lightweight because I'm not building it with your traditional, you know, construction with a mold and then heavy laminates. We're going full foam core with a durable composite skin to it, so it will end up being pretty light. And so this was the first design, and as you can see, I kind of went with like a cockpit area in the back and then a large chamber up here, which was going to be a watertight area. And I've kind of gone away from this design, so if I'm gonna go, let's just make this body so let's just make this body 100% so we can see it better. So yeah, you can see that. And so then I was just doing out the measurements, and then with the cockpit, like, it just took up too much space, and then all you really have is this small area up here to fish from comfortably or relax on. And so I went away from this idea, and I started seeing some other boats that didn't have any sort of cockpits. Could find the pictures of the examples that I was getting some inspiration with, but I can't find them. So I kind of went with something like this. And so I'm still going to have a watertight hatch in this hull, so you can see, you know, very flat bottom. And then I kept the front real thick and bulky so that you have a lot of volume up there to float on. And I did sharpen up the bow a bit, the slight concave on the bottom, and I sharpened up that bow just to give it kind of a better look, and in case you're actually going through any massive waves. And this right here is a mini model, which I'm going to be cutting out shortly, so that's just in case you're wondering what that is. And so I guess just to give an idea, these are the hatches I've used in the past, these Seaflow hatches, and they work great on the hulls of the catamarans because you're not really stepping on them. But one of those up front on our design here would be raised, and it would just be a problem for that to be in an area where you intend to stand and fish from. So that's kind of the conundrum I've been with. Ideally, I would have a big storage / watertight hatch up in here just to get some more weight forward, and potentially a battery again for that trolling motor, and the wiring tubes are going to have to be run through at some point. So these are the things I'm thinking of, and the more I kind of think about it, I might have to look into actually designing and building my own kind of watertight hatch. They call it a gutter hatch, I believe, something like that. So that's, I guess, what would have to go up there. But really, what I want to do now is, you can see I have this mini model, and so I'm going to cut that. So I plan to cut that out of this scrap piece of foam I have here. So I just like to see models in real life, just to make sure that they're how I kind of want them to be. So I'm going to cut that out, give it a look, and then think things through a bit. So just for anyone else, I guess I do a lot of work with foam, obviously, and so I already went ahead and ordered this foam for this boat almost 2 months ago. It's just kind of been sitting here. I haven't really been able to get to it, but all these foam pieces here are going to be cut into that hole, and then we're going to laminate them all together. And so doing it in this way with like kind of the puzzle piece dimensions, I have to do it this way because of the limited size of my milling machine. I wish I had a larger one, it'd be easier, but it's not too much of a problem to cut them all out like this, because then that allows you to cut in all of those hatches and like cooler spaces and all that, and be able to create enclosed spaces because you're laminating. All right, so there we go. We got the tool path, and it's going to be a quick cut. So it's telling me only about 12 minutes. So let's cut this out and see how it looks. Alright, so here is the cutout piece. And so I didn't size the stock perfectly, so this little strip here you see is, imagine that not being there, so that's just like extra. So it would be a bit that much thinner, the real design here. So I'm liking it. The adjustment that I made, I've cut out a few previous models earlier, and this, I was really shaping the bow of the boat differently. So before it was kind of just like bulged out, and I finally got it to this shape where it kind of bends in a bit, has a bit of a sharper area right here, more just like a very slight flare coming out, and I like that a bit better. And I didn't want to go too extreme on the bow area because I do want this to have a big floating, I want it to be very buoyant, so if you're standing up in the bow area, there's a lot of hull to float whatever's up there. And so I am liking what I'm seeing. And so what will be added obviously are, of course, some spray rails, probably going, you know, down to, I don't know exactly where yet, but somewhere down in there. And so you can see very flat bottom, somewhat very slight concave there, and I've seen that in some sort of mini flat skiffs before. And I'm also thinking of like surfboard designs, that type of things. A lot of time a little concave just to kind of channel that water. I guess it gives it some stability. I don't exactly know, but it's there. We'll see how it is. And I'm pretty happy with this shape, how it. All right, just kind of mocking up a little bit just to give you guys a better idea. So like a platform similar, this is definitely probably isn't to scale, so probably a little bit shorter, but you get the idea. So that's in the back there. And I have this something similar on the cats. And so when you're underway, you can sit off of this front edge here, and that placement again will be obviously adjusted, but you sit there and then your tiller extension comes through, and so it's a very comfortable area to sit and steer the boat when you're underway. The only, I guess, kind of downside or trade-off is you're right. If you're turning towards the right, you can't push the tiller very far out depending on the placement of these panels here, but you can still turn plenty far to the right. It's just if you're in very tight situations and you need to make a really sharp right-hand turn, that's not going to be possible. So you kind of have to like 3-point turn it. But anyways, great fishing off of those two, especially if you're fly fishing. So that's kind of what I'm thinking there. And then as far as where that watertight compartment goes, I'm still not entirely sure. I think it would make the most sense to get it underneath the platform, but I also know from past experience that underneath here is a great storage area. Like I like to put like mesh netting in the back so things don't slide out and off the back of the deck. So I really wouldn't want it underneath there if you're putting, say, a cooler under there or something. And so I'm starting to think that that watertight hatch area, maybe have the hatch be right in here and then have the whole cavity extend out into here, this area of the boat, just to get a little more weight forward while also keeping the hatch basically out of the way, so you have all this space up in here that's just clean, clear deck. So yeah, still kind of thinking of that, not entirely sure. So that might be it for today. I might start cutting out some of the pieces, but again, I have to figure out that hatch situation before I start cutting anything. So depending on how much longer I think about that and if I have any time to start cutting out the pieces, I may or may not have some of that in this video. But if I don't, let's just look forward to it, and as the build progresses, we'll include all that work.